Hey guys, this is Jennifer from Dr. Marketing Tips, and today I'm going to give you just a real brief discussion on my 3 takeaways from this year's AAOS Leadership Meeting out in Nashville. I was invited just last week to participate in a panel discussion that talked about reputation management and social media for the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons. And I have a couple of takeaways that I just want to share with you folks at the practice management level, things that I saw that maybe we could implement at a practice management marketing level. So my 3 takeaways are, number 1, doctors care about their online reputations. Number 2, doctors are people first, just like you and me. I think sometimes we forget this, but they really are people first. And number 3, surgeons are competitive and they love to win. In fact, they actually expect to win, in my opinion. So let's talk about what the first takeaway, which is doctors care about their online reputations. I had the chance to participate in this panel discussion, and it was quite the opportunity. And there were about 200 or so orthopedic surgeons that were in the room taking copious notes. And I had some of the leadership folks from the meeting pull me aside and say that this was the most well-attended of all of the sessions that they had had on this long weekend. And that's because technology is changing so fast, and doctors are possibly so involved in the day-to-day practice and patient care that sometimes they don't have the time to go online and to see what other people are saying about them. And I had the opportunity to share the space on the panel with Dr. Basil Besh out of California. He's a hand surgeon, and he really did quite an extensive conversation on reputation management in general, some of the things that work for his practice and some of the things that don't. And he talked a lot about the laws, some of the old, kind of in the last couple of years, gag orders that physicians would try to use to get their patients not to leave reviews, which would, of course, backfire. Dr. Best shared one thing that Corey and I always preach against, which is putting computers in your patient room because of the IP address being tracked by these online reputation physician rating websites. And so Dr. Besh actually shared some real world examples about how he used to have computers in his patient rooms. And after an appointment, they would request that the patient go online quickly and do a review. And it backfired on him because, the IP addresses were being tracked, and then all of a sudden it was all for naught because the reviews weren't showing. And, this was just an in-depth conversation, but the biggest takeaway for me was that the doctors really do care about their online reputations, and they are paying more and more attention to how we can get our hands around it. We can find out what other people are saying about us, and we can be proactive in getting positive returns because they didn't go to medical school and work on their residencies and spend all those years, and they focus on providing excellent patient care to have 1 or 2 people go online and comment on them and ruin it. So they're really paying attention to reputation management, and it was good to see so many surgeons taking copious notes and asking questions. And I think that the doctors out there, their eyes have been open to what's going on in the online space, and they're ready to take action. So the second takeaway from this conference was that doctors are people first, just like you and me. I think sometimes, especially when we're dealing with the day-to-day activities in our practice, we have put those surgeons and the doctors up on this pedestal. And I think in large part, they deserve to be on that pedestal, especially if they're good at what they do. They have put a lot of time, effort, and money, blood, sweat, and tears, and sacrificed a lot to become who they are. But Corey and I had the chance to spend some real quality time with these surgeons. And, one thing that we both noticed is they are just like you and me. They are sharing stories about, the fear that sometimes when they have a loved one that might end up in the hospital. They are sharing stories about what's worked for them and what hasn't worked. And we were actually having lunch in Nashville at this fantastic place. It's world famous for its hot chicken. And we were out there with about half a dozen of some of the leading surgeons in the country. And we were standing outside for about 45 minutes in line. And one of the doctors was sharing some story, and one of them interrupted and said, ultimately, what it's all about for me is when somebody says thank you for what I've done. And he's a hand surgeon, another hand surgeon. And he said, plain and simple, I chose orthopedics because I can actually fix people in this field. And he said, when you have somebody that come in that can no longer, ride a horse or write or do basic functions because their hand isn't working and he's able to fix them. He says, the thank yous are so few and far between, but that's what it's all about for him. So I think it's important for us as marketers, especially, to remember that doctors are people first and they're just like you and me. I saw this perfect example this week. We have a practice that we work with, and we were updating all of the bio cards. They're making some changes to bio cards. So in that, we are rewriting all the bios of the doctors. And we had quite the heated discussion between how much personal information do we put into the bio card versus just keeping it more about education and information about the physician and the practice in general. And Corey will say it time and time again, when he goes in and films a video testimonial with a patient, he'll ask the patient point blank, how did you get to the point that you chose this physician to do the surgery? And 9 times out of 10, they will say they saw a video online, either praising that particular doctor for their work or a getting to know you video, where we typically will get the doctors to share, why they went into medicine, what they do in their spare time, and just get their passion to kind of come through in like a 3-minute video. And the more and more that we can get a little of that personal experience into our marketing efforts, the better it plays, because at the end of the day, the doctors are just like you and me. They're people. And people want to do business or trust people that are similar to them. And it's always a fine line of a perception of creating a relationship, but using social media and the tools that are available to us to create that perception of some one-on-one relationship building just goes a long way when it comes to attracting new patients. And finally, my takeaway from the 2014 AAOS Leadership Meeting in Nashville is that surgeons are competitive and they love to win. In fact, they don't just love to win, they expect to win. I really took note to all the note taking and questions being asked about reputation management, but we had a session, part of the panel, talking about kind of the up and coming technology that will help you in improving your communications, whether it's patient communications or doctor to doctor communications. And plain and simple, the docs were very interested in these newest, latest, and greatest technologies. That's because they expect outstanding results. And physicians are competitive just by nature, especially surgeons, because of how competitive the process is to becoming a leader in your field. And at the end of the day, physicians expect those of us that are doing their marketing to make them number one in their field. They expect their clinics to be full. They expect quality patients, not just a quantity, but they expect quality patients coming into the door. And they expect that you and I, as marketers, will know about the latest and greatest technologies coming up, and we're going to be prepared to take advantage of them. So I think, the fact that you're listening to this presentation shows that you're interested in what the next thing around the corner is going to be. And if anything, my takeaway from this conference or this meeting this last week was that surgeons are competitive, they love to win, and they actually expect to win. So those of us that are marketers, it is time for us to step up our game. So that is it for today. Those were my 3 takeaways from the 2014 AAOS Leadership Meeting up in Nashville. Again, this is Jennifer with Dr. Marketing Tips, and I hope you will stick around and use the Dr. Marketing Tips website to help you up your education and become a little bit more competitive so that you can deliver the best possible results to your practice and the team of doctors that you are working for. So thanks again, and I will see you next time.